Okay, we are now standing under the sanctuary of Apollo, Delphi, which is also known as the navel or the center of the ancient Greek world. Now, to get a better idea of what more or less happened at that ancient times, as I told you, mythology and the 12 gods, well, these ancient Greeks believed in the 12 gods. So what they did was constructing sanctuaries, and they went over to these sanctuaries, they would worship them, make offers to keep their gods satisfied. Now, at that times, when we talked about Greece, on the map it was the same area, but there was a big political difference. Instead of one country, we had something like small countries next to each other. The Greeks called them city-states, but they looked like small countries. So each city-state had its own army, its own naval force, its own king, its own laws, but they all had two common elements. They had the same religion, they all believed in these 12 gods, and they all spoke the same language, they spoke Greek. So they had the feeling that they belonged to the same ethnic group. They were all Greeks, we could say. So each city-state had also a sanctuary, and on a main sanctuary, and in or on that sanctuary they would worship the patron god or goddess each time. For example, in Athens, the patron goddess was Athena, and as you see, the Acropolis, the main sanctuary, is located right above or next to the ancient and the modern city. So this sanctuary of Delphi is a special one. Why? Because it has a special function. It has a Panhellenic function. This means not only locals would visit that sanctuary, but people from the whole Greek area, people from all city-states. Such sanctuaries, three in antiquity: Epidaurus, the sanctuary of Asclepios; Olympia, the one that belonged to Zeus; and this one, Delphi, that belonged to Apollo. Panhellenic function, as I told you, not only the locals, all the Greeks came here. So Greeks from all city-states. This is why it looks for us today that this sanctuary is placed in the middle of nowhere. But this was the purpose of it. They placed it far from each city-state in order to make clear that this doesn't belong to a specific city-state. So not to Athens, Thebes, Sparta, Corinth. It belonged to all Greeks. Okay? Now, as you can see, it is located on the lower part of the slope of the Mount Parnas. So from where we are standing now, you cannot see the Mount Parnas. It's behind these rocks that the Greeks call Phedriades. But we have to imagine these rocks form the lowest part of Mount Parnas. This is local limestone, that's why it has that special gray color. So if you make a comparison between the color that they use for their buildings and the material they use, it's more or less the same, so they use that local limestone. This is one of the reasons that these ancient people chose for that spot in order to place the sanctuary dedicated to Apollo. Why? They had enough material they could use, but as you can see, the one side of the sanctuary is also naturally protected by these rocks, protected by, nature's behavior, like storms, wind, and things like that. But also very important, they had, and today we still have, the sea quite close. 10 kilometers means at that times like 3 hours walking, because at that time no ways, no roads, they did it all, they crossed the seas, they used vessels, so they needed to be able to construct a port, a harbor. They left the vessels behind and they continued on foot. So when we leave Delphi, I will show you where the sea is. We could say behind that mountain, 3 hours walking from here. So this is what the archaeologist gives us, the information, but we also have mythology, of course, that comes and lets us know why the Greeks chose for that spot, because the Greeks also used mythology in order to explain everything they couldn't explain in a logical way, as you can imagine it. So according to the myth, one day Zeus stood on his gold balcony and he wanted to locate the center of the world. And he let two eagles fly, and he said the spot under which these two eagles will meet each other will be the center of the world. So according to the myth, the two eagles met each other in the sky above Delphi, and right after that Zeus sent over his son Apollo in order to construct that sanctuary. But this is the myth. Of course, we know they did it for the other reasons I told you. So you will see the sanctuary is today, and at that times, also divided in 3 levels. This is the easiest way to get a picture of what it looked like. So we reached together the second level. This is the most important one because you see the temple, the ruins of the temple of Apollo over there, and after that you can decide if you continue a bit further direction, the third level. But I will let you know when we are up there. 3 levels and a lot of walls. They needed to construct these walls in order to support these buildings. Otherwise, it would collapse. They would collapse, as you can imagine. Now we are standing right outside the sanctuary. We'll enter it right after entering the monumental gate. Well, we have to mobilize our fantasy a bit. We have to imagine something like a monumental gate over there. So from the moment you passed through the monumental gate, you entered the world of the gods. So the gate, propylon, this is what the Greeks call it, was always the official division between the world of the gods and the world of the mortals. So once you entered that, you had to follow the laws of the gods, and you were a visitor, because the sanctuary belonged, it was the residence of the gods. Now we are standing on a Roman forum. The Greeks call it agora. We could translate it as a marketplace, and we would ask ourselves why a Roman forum right next to a Greek sanctuary, but this happens almost on every archaeological site. We have something that we could describe like layers. So we have the prehistorical one, we have the classical one, and next to the classical we have also the Roman one. So when the Romans arrived here right after the end of the classical period, they wouldn't destroy the classical constructions, they would rather place constructions among the classical ones. Okay, so Roman and Greek is more or less the same on the level that we can see it, but there is a difference of 7 centuries between it. Okay, it's just on the same level, we could say. And after that we have also what the Christians left behind. That's why behind you can see some stone with a cross on it. This means that the Christians arrived also here, and they turned a part of that sanctuary. They started using parts of sanctuaries. What they very often did was recycling material. They used the marble in churches, residences, and things like that. So when the Romans arrived here, they saw that the sanctuary was functioning very well, so they decided to keep the function, but they said we need a way to earn more money. So they constructed something like a marketplace where we are standing now, and right behind you they divided that wall into small shops. And what could you buy over there? Incense and special type of clothing and candles, everything one can use in a sanctuary. So an extra way of earning extra money, like today outside the monasteries. And a very easy way to tell what's Roman and what's Greek is to have a look at the color of the material. So that red-brown material, the bricks, this is Roman, because this is a Roman invention. So when you see that color, you can say it's rather Roman or early primitive Christian. When you see that marble color or the gray color, the limestone, it is Greek. This is the easiest way, okay, more or less to get an idea. So when the Christians arrived, they turned the shops of the Romans into small chapels. Okay, we continue.